if you clicked on this video, it's probably because you think you're awkward and you want to change that. Well, first of all, what does it mean to be awkward? The first thing that comes to mind when I think about being awkward is feeling the pressure to act a certain way in a social scenario, but having a very difficult time doing so. So you might feel really intense feelings of anxiety or stress, being shy in social situations such as big groups. Maybe you're at a party back in COVID times. Maybe it's just your team at work. Maybe it's a large family gathering. And these feelings of being shy and anxious can also be coupled with feeling insecure and feeling like you're judged because you're not able to perform on the same level as maybe like a social butterfly that's going around and talking with people with ease. So you might have a sense of inadequacy in that regard. And it might cause you to sort of pause or freeze in your behavior because you're afraid of being judged or rejected. So obviously the remedy to this is to not feel awkward. You want to be able to feel confident and comfortable around people. And this can really help to build better relationships, whether it be professional or personal. So let's get into it. How do you not be awkward? Well, this wouldn't be an EQ channel if I didn't first suggest for you to take a step back and notice how you feel. And once you notice how you're feeling, making sure to take the steps to regulate those emotions. Some things that you can implement that are within your control is maybe allowing a time limit for these social interactions. Maybe having a few ways of escaping a conversation should it prove to be a bit uncomfortable for you. One thing that I learned from a class of mine in undergraduate is the power pose. So, like so. Like so. Like so. But basically it's just your body taking up space. So oftentimes our body positions kind of mimic how we're feeling. So if we're kind of closed off and tight and like really reserved, chances are our feelings are going to follow that. So one way to trick the body into thinking that it's feeling confident, that's feeling comfortable, is taking up a stance that a confident person would. Another thing you can do is to look for contextual cues. So look at the kind of conversation that you're having. Look at the topic of the conversation. If it's something about, a really cool and happy birthday party or maybe a recent achievement of this person, chances are that conversation is going to be a happy one. And that person that you're going to be talking to is going to be a happy one. So something that you can do is mirror that tone, mirror that emotion as you're talking to that person. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, if it is a more uncomfortable subject, maybe someone just got laid off or broken up with, they're sad, they're sulking a bit, you do want to express a bit of empathy and maybe feel sad for that person. Obviously, in this scenario, it wouldn't be appropriate for you to be happy. Again, mirroring an emotion works with bad emotions as well. You can also look for cues in the person that you're talking to, their body language. If you see their eyes darting from side to side and they're not really paying attention to you, or if they have their arms crossed, or if they're not really facing you, these might be indications that this person isn't really into the conversation or you. And in this scenario, it might not be the fact that you're awkward, that this person is giving off body language that they don't really want to talk to you. Maybe they just don't like you. Or maybe it's just a topic of conversation that they don't feel comfortable with. Maybe they're having a bad day. It might be a lot of other reasons that aren't personal to you. So at that point, I would suggest maybe either asking them what's going on or cutting your losses and just cutting the conversation short, because at that point, you've done your part. And the same rules of body language, of course, apply to you as well. So when you're talking with someone, make sure that you have a tone with your body that makes it seem that you're open, relaxed and comfortable. Again, if you're cross-legged and just like really kind of hunching your body over, trying to make yourself small in that sense, you will feel small. And in that regard, it'll keep perpetuating that kind of awkward, anxious, shy feeling. Take up space, feel comfortable, maybe spread your legs a bit. I know that women are kind of more taught the social norm is to cross your legs, but if I'm feeling uncomfortable and want to make myself more confident and not awkward, I kind of tend to, again, take up space. Maybe not necessarily a standing up power pose, but maybe putting your hands on your thighs, which are maybe about hip width apart, maybe having them on the table where you kind of are able to take up some real estate with your arms. Maybe you're leaning forward a bit to indicate that you're really listening to this person talk. Those are some things that you can do. So now that we've talked about noticing how it makes you feel and regulating those emotions and looking for contextual cues, so body language, tone of the voice, and also conversation topics. So now let's talk about the actual conversation piece. I think first and foremost with conversations, it's all about give and take. You don't want to hijack the conversation and have it be all about you. I think oftentimes people that feel awkward feel less comfortable talking about themselves. So if that's the case for you, maybe the give and take two-way conversation style isn't appropriate for this time, which is fine. You can go ahead and start off with focusing the conversation on that person, asking them questions about their personal life, and doing so in a more open-ended manner. With regular small talk, a lot of the conversation revolves around where are you from, what do you do for your living, what do you like to do for fun, which I think those are great starting points. But as far as open-ended questions go, maybe you could try something different that kind of sort of digs. Why is it so hard for me to talk right now? That sort of delves in a little deeper. That's what I wanted to say. So maybe you can ask, what are your biggest dreams and aspirations? What values really matter to you in guiding the type of life that you want to live? Where do you see, or in fact, where do you want to be in 10 years? What brings you the most fulfillment? People generally like talking about themselves. So if you feel more comfortable in that sort of scenario, try open-ended questions and see how that works for you. And as this person is talking, again, with the body language, making sure that we're keeping eye contact, making sure that our body is open and towards that person. You can add some head nods and ahas in that if you would like to. But make sure that you can actually talk the talk in this sense. You can walk the walk in pretending that you're listening, but if you were to back brief or regurgitate what that person was saying to you, I think that would be another great way to build upon the conversation and the possible relationship that you're forming. I have a video on how to better listen. If you're interested in checking that out, I will link it up there. So those are all the ways of how to not feel so awkward in social situations. But you know what? I think that sometimes being awkward is cool. So here are some scenarios. I think it's a great way to break the ice, to flat out just say, you know what, I'm feeling kind of awkward in this scenario. I feel kind of uncomfortable. Just straight out saying how you're feeling. You know, it brings that human aspect to something that might have turned into being automatic, being sort of robotic, having less meaning. You know, formal introductions and small talk is kind of something that we do more frequently. There's not really a lot of depth yet. So that might be a great icebreaker. And typically, kind people will be empathetic towards this fact that you're feeling uncomfortable and might, you know, encourage you. And that might just be the encouragement that you need to not feel as awkward in that situation. So for example, when I was doing mock engagements for an army training that I was at this past month, I felt very nervous. I felt very awkward because it was a graded event and I'm supposed to go in and speak with these people. It's kind of having a public speaking sort of feel to it. And when I told my teammates this, they encouraged me and they cheered me on, and it made me feel better going into the engagement. I also have a very special place in my heart for awkward. I think that it is quite endearing. I actually used to joke around and say that my type is tall, lanky, and awkward. Still kind of true. But you know, being awkward might have the opposite effect that you anticipate. Maybe you don't want to conform to the social cues. Maybe you want to do something that's a little bit different than what the crowd is doing. And you know what? That's okay, as long as it's not actively offending anyone or making anyone extremely uncomfortable. You're showing that you're being true to yourself, and I think a display of genuine personality or character can draw people to you instead of thinking that you're a weirdo or maybe someone to avoid altogether. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think you're awkward? Do you think there are some instances where being awkward is cool? Are you trying not to be awkward? Do you think I'm awkward? Well, let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your thoughts. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.